right, let's recap and react to Colorado's destruction of Oklahoma State and what this means for their season and what this means for their postseason future. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Please, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, consider doing that. Hit the like button while you're here because, well, we're going to talk about this thing, and we talk about this thing every day here on the show. And this thing is college football, and particularly with a Coach Prime bent, as we're talking about what Colorado needs to happen and what they have accomplished in this year two of the Coach Prime experience. I don't think it is out of respect or even out of joy. It's just it is what it is. This Colorado team is not like last year's Colorado team. They went 4-8 last year. They're 9-3 at the end of the regular season. A loss with a combination of Arizona State, BYU, Iowa State. 2 of those 3 need to lose, and Colorado gets into the Big 12 championship game next week. If they don't, I'm guaranteeing the Alamo Bowl picks them up because this is one of the most watched programs in the sport today, and it is the second largest sport in the United States behind the vaunted NFL. And on this Black Friday at 11 a.m., Central Time, there were a lot of folks that were tuning in to watch a 8-3 team beat up on a 3-8 team. And that's really what I think is so cool and unpredictable about this season. Like, I'm going to do a 134 where I'm ranking all 134 teams at the end of the regular season. And the way in which I thought about Oklahoma State versus the way in which I thought about Colorado are just two different places here. But getting into the game itself, I mean, it was 21-0 after the end of the first quarter. And then it was 35-0. It felt like in a flash. But we're talking about LaJohntay Wester breaking this thing open in the second half with a 69-yard catch and run, 10 catches, 160 yards in that one. Shedeur broke the single-season passing record for a Colorado quarterback in this game. He went for 368, damn near 400 yards again. And then, I don't know how many times I'm going to have to keep saying this, but Travis Hunter is the Heisman Trophy winner, and he's been the Heisman Trophy winner basically since week 2, week 3. And I don't know why we're still talking about Ashton Jeanty in that way. I don't know why we're talking about Cam Ward in that way or Dylan Gabriel in that way. We've never seen anybody do what Travis Hunter is doing right now. As a matter of fact, I love this story that Mark Jones relayed that he got from Robert Livingston, which is great. Robert Livingston is doing the meeting on the sideline, on the bench, and in the middle of his breaking it down, Travis Hunter says, "Hey, Coach, I'm going to be right back." Goes out, catches a TD pass, and comes back and says, "Hey, Coach, we still in cover 2?" Because that's where this man is. That's where his mind is when we're talking about what you can do as only he can, man. Like a unicorn, one of one. Prime is a singular number divisible by 1 in itself. And this Thorpe Award snub looks even more foolish by the day because it's not just that he is probably going to win the Heisman Trophy for anybody that's got eyes. It's also that he is a finalist for the Biletnikoff Award, and he caught 2 TD passes and had a pick against Oklahoma State. Who else in the country has done that? Wait, I'll wait. You let me know. You tell me if there's any other player in the entire country who has 2 TD catches and a pick in the same game. Any other one. How about this? Tell me about another player in the history of the sport who has over 1,000 yards receiving, at least 10 TD catches, and at least 2, not 4, but 2 interceptions. But Travis got 4, just so we counting over here. And that's what people were throwing at him. And to this day, we're still waiting on somebody else to go over the top of him and make a receiving touchdown. It happened once against Utah. Once. It's up. Talk about 12 games of people who have decided that they're either not throwing at this guy or on the first series, you throw your fresh quarterback out there and you throw at him and he has a pick and you get that dude a hook by the start of the fourth quarter as it was 45-0 at the time. And Hunter, I think, was still catching passes late into this thing. Like, I was giving you the numbers that I decided to write down before we started to do this, but I didn't expect for Prime to let off the gas for 2 reasons. One is senior day. It's the last time that these players get to play at Folsom in this gear in front of these fans. 2, you're trying to run it up. You're trying to run it up because if there is a conversation about who should be one of those teams in with 3 losses, maybe you think you should be up there with the SEC. I know there's a lot of SEC fans that are going to be watching this. A lot of college football fans are going to be watching this, be like, RJ, why are you starting something? Because if y'all are right, and it's all about the money, and it's all about ratings, let me tell you who's going to outdraw your 3-loss Ole Miss. Let me tell you who's going to outdraw your 3-loss Texas A&M. Let me tell you who's going to outdraw your 3-loss Alabama. It's the Colorado Buffaloes. So if I'm just following your gorilla logic that it's all about ratings, it's all about money, You're going to put Colorado on every screen every time, all the time, if you can. I would not be surprised to find out if Colorado doesn't make the college football playoff and they get into the Alamo Bowl, their number will be higher than the 5-12 matchup number. I'm willing to put money on that. If there was a place to put money on it, I won't, because I don't bet on stuff like that, because I do this job, and betting on stuff is a good way to get in trouble. But the point that I'm making here is the same. You want to have dudes like LeJontay Wester out there with Travis Hunter. I think, like, at one point, I said 10 for 160. I think it was like 11 for 171 at another point. But I'm also looking at this defense that showed up in a huge way. It makes that Kansas game look like even more of an aberration now that we're talking about it, right? Because, wait a second. No, Travis Hunter had 3 receiving touchdowns in this. Stupid. Anyway, the game was well out of hand, right? The game was into the 50s. But the defense still was coming out there to put the clamps down on folks, right? The vaunted Ollie Gordon and that offensive line could do nothing, not a zip, 0. One point, we're talking about 14 rushes for 7 yards, and I think Ollie had 4 rushes for 10. They just couldn't move the football. It was just not, it's not happening for them. We're talking about also a virtuoso performance by a quarterback that I know is going to get drafted in the first round now. The thing that I really want them to change, it's just part of their game now, is him getting sacked so much. So I'm going to start referring to the sacks, especially in this game, by Shedeur and the offensive line, because the offensive line can't actually take credit for all of these sacks. My man is doing the scramble drill better than everybody else is doing the scramble drill out there. And it's one of the reasons that we like watching him. Don't know how well that's going to translate to the NFL, but he's got enough accuracy that if you give him a decent offensive line, he will get rid of the ball. He won't try to run around. He'll just get rid of the ball and get it to those players that he knows can make plays. Also, putting up the goose egg. Tremendous through those first 3 quarters. First, 3.5? I mean, look, I'm also thinking about this going, I love that Robert Livingston is going to probably get votes in the Broyles Award and be a finalist. Like, I sincerely believe that. Like, I get a vote in that, and I'm having to put my finalist list together, and I won't do it until we finish playing football games. But it's just going to be hard for me not to look at what he's done to the turnaround of that defense and not give it its full due, especially as other guys that I know are going to be in that mix, like Shannon Dawson at Miami. For Oregon fans, we can't vote on Will Stein because that's not who Dan Lanning nominated. He nominated Tosh Lapoy. I take it up with him. I can't make that guy enter the Broyles Award winner if his own head coach doesn't volunteer his name, because that's how it works, right? They reach out to each one of the head coaches, tell us which one of these guys you want to bring in. So if Colorado can get a loss by BYU, Iowa State, Arizona State, any one of those in the mix, all of those are possibilities in this topsy-turvy Big 12. It's going to be a fun conversation about where they rank next week. But even more fun is they get an opportunity to finish something that they just didn't get to do against Kansas. They had complete control over getting into the Big 12 championship, and they fumbled it against Kansas at Arrowhead against a very good Kansas team. Like I tried to tell people, don't let that record is a bold-faced lie to your face. Like that's what that is. In bold, italics, they're lying to you. They're a good football team, and that's what happened to Colorado. They got beat by a good football team. However, going from 4-8 to 9-3, my goodness, man. I don't know that Prime is going to win Coach of the Year. He'll win Big 12 Coach of the Year. There's no doubt about that. There's none. But being National Coach of the Year, I think that's going to be tough because of what Curt Cignetti has pulled off in year 1 at Indiana. Now, no shade, but like what Cignetti did in Indiana this year in a way that it's never been done, I got a hard time not making that dude not the head coach of the year. I'm talking about getting off to a 10-0 start, first time that Indiana's ever won 10 games, going 10-1, probably going to make the college football playoff as an at-large team, which is a little bit that's even more impressive to me than if they had made the Big Ten championship game, because it means that on merit, the committee would believe that it's one of the 12 best teams in the sport, and I think that's worthwhile. I would love to see what would happen if we're talking about Colorado and Boise State being those two teams. Like, say Boise State takes a loss against Oregon State, doesn't look likely as they were very much ahead, or they lose in the Mountain West Championship game. I think with this outing, Colorado put itself back in a very good spot of really going, do y'all really want to leave us out of this thing? We got the 2 most popular players in the sport. We got the Heisman Trophy winner. We've got the most popular coach in the sport. We draw better than anybody else not in the Big 12. We draw top 11 over the course of the last 2 years. And if you put us up against Ohio State at the 12 seed, you're going to get a loud number, right? That's assuming that Ohio State loses to Oregon and doesn't make the Big Ten championship, or excuse me, doesn't make the college football playoff as the Big Ten champion. I am beyond excited about what this means for them, for the sport, because I think that what Travis Hunter has done is going to lead more guys to think they could do it. And we'll see if other coaches are as brave as Prime is to give Travis that opportunity. Knowing that man has basically played 4 seasons of football in 2 years, knowing that man's stamina has been ridiculous, knowing that he has been one of the best wide receivers in the sport and one of the best defensive backs, it's very cool to live in this moment. You know what I'm saying? Like I was saying this about the Dodgers and the Yankees. I'd never seen a Dodgers-Yankees World Series, and I got to see my squad, take the World Series with the best player that the game has ever seen. So as a sports fan, as a fan of this sport, I am grateful on this Black Friday for what we get to see and what we get to participate in. But my God, guys, ridiculous what this group has done. And I hope, and I really do hope, that they can find a way to get those 2 losses from those other teams to get in the Big 12 championship, because I know this college football playoff committee, you can't trust them to do the right thing or even to do the smart thing. But we'll see.